Hey, welcome to the Nameless Blog. I'm your host, Kyle S. Berkeley. I am out here grilling. Today is my birthday, and I'm grilling some steaks because I'm going over to my mom's house to celebrate my birthday. That being said, I wanted to get in possibly the last Nameless Blog of February, which is Black History Month, as promised. Did want to give a recap on The Sopranos. I did finish that. Very good show. Very good show. Um, I love the ending, and I had so many questions about the ending at the same time. And then I went through this weird rabbit hole jump down of what happens to the other people. Well, all right, it's The Sopranos. I don't think I'm really spoiling it for a lot of people, and it's been up for forever. In the end, it fades to black. So it leaves it up to your own devices on if Tony dies or not. They do this real cool thing of when Tony waits for his daughter to come through the door. His daughter's having a difficulty trying to parallel park her car in New York or New Jersey, and then they like keep making the diner that he's at feel smaller and smaller and smaller, and it really increases your tension. And if you watch Godfather 1, you understand this whole bathroom scene. And there's a lot of callbacks to Godfather in The Sopranos. So, which is cool. That being said, I give it a 5 out of 5. The whole series is real good. I don't think the series had one bad episode. It was really good. I'm going to get to Yellowstone next, and it was a comedy somebody told me to check out. And this is part of me detoxing from that year and a half, close to 2 years of researching cults that I had to do for the Union, which will be out in May 29th to be exact. And we're in the process of trying to figure out how we're going to do The Wake Reborn. It's done. It's going through the edits right now. And then it's going to go through critiques. It's the same story in a different story all at the same time. As far as timeline wise, everything is linear. It's not like each chapter is its own thing. Nope. This falls in line with the rest of the Tiffany Gibbons saga. And I did something real cool where she's retelling the story, and she's retelling the story to a counselor that, if you read The Void, you'll be very familiar with, because she's in The Void. And well, Miss Toya, I'm not gonna like this. This isn't spoilers right here. For the Wake Rebirth or Reborn. I'm still going back and forth on the subtitle on it. But the remake of The Wake. So that's one of the new additions to it. There's a lot more information and detail towards the characters. I'm gonna check on these stakes real quick. As you can see, this is what I got going on, baby. Yeah, so I'm just taking my time and really trying to make sure that this is a ride that everybody's going to enjoy and that it lines up. And this version of The Wake will officially be on Bowprint Publishing. I think I stated in the previous post, the rights have reverted back to me, which I'm under a 10-book deal with Full Print right now. And The Wake will make me on book number 4 that's out on Bowprint, this version of The Wake. I think this will, like, all right, Books with Benefits had the original Wake at an 8.5, which is the Void, proofing that The Void 9.0, the Legacy 9.8, the Union is ranked at a 10.0, which is a perfect score. Union is currently entered into a few book contests right now, and been the finalist nominee on a few of them so far. So I'm still waiting to see if I'll the final standing on it. But Union is a perfect book, and it covers cults. and it covers cults. It's a crime drama. There's a serial killer called the Charm City Strangler involved in this. If you're familiar with the real story of the Bunny Man, or you're familiar with the real story of, let's say, a Wayne Williams from Atlanta, which we'll get into that too inspired today with Wayne Williams. And you'll understand there's a lot of pulls, and like at Kemper as well. There's a lot of pulling that I did to create this Charm City Strangler, who's actually in the background. The Charm City Strangler is not the main antagonist per se. It's more of a something that's there in the city, but remember, this whole story is told through Tiffany Gibbons' eyes, and then you figure out how this actually connects to her family, and you go, "Oh, well, I didn't see that coming," and it's done on purpose. So, that being said, we'll get into the inspiration of it all. Well, before we get into the inspiration of it all, like I did want to get into, there's a lot more fleshing out. There's more fleshing out with Tyrone's character, which is Sasha's son. There's more fleshing out between Sasha and Tiffany's relationship early on, instead of you getting to the void and you're like, oh, they're like best friends, which I didn't really get that in the Wake, the original Wake. This, you get more of their friendship and how that friendship worked. You do get more of the family dynamic drama between Tiffany, her father, her mother, and the grandmother being the person that's always been there for Tiffany to protect her. You get more of Tiffany's feelings. You get more of Tina's feelings and Tina's relationship with Tiffany. You really get to feel that in this. Um, it's weird how in the Void and in the Legacy, you get Tiffany spelling it out, but you don't really get it in the original Wake. In the Wake Reborn or Wake Rebirth, you get to really feel that relationship. You get a lot more of Alex Tillman in this, just because you get a lot more of his feelings and what's going on. I do get to call out the Delaney crime family a lot more in this one than I did before. If you're going to get to learn a little bit about them in the Union, they are alluded to in the Void, and I want to say the Legacy. They are alluded to, and that's when I allude to them a lot more. And then there's a huge payoff in the transition, which I'm working on right now. I was trying to take a break, but well, it looks like we're gonna be doing this massive book right now. So I'm writing transition, and I'm writing Crossed as we speak. I was trying not to write transition. There was a couple other books I wanted to do. I wanted to do Crossed. I was doing this kid's book, and I was doing there was another one I was working on, but I'm going to pause on it for a little bit, and I'm going to focus on Crossed and transition, and then I'll get back into the other ones I was working on. Just because Crossed is fun. Crossed is a very fun book, and I can't wait to talk more about that once I get to it. Get further along in the story, but Crossed is definitely going to be a fun book for everybody. But getting back into the Wake, it does put something different in the timeline for me and for Bullprint Publishing, because where we were going all in on the promotion on the Union for the May 29th release, now we're questioning, well, how do we promote the Wake Rebirth or Wake Reborn or Wake Second Edition? We'll just call it Wake Second Edition on this, just for reasons, because right now that's what is copyrighted under, is the Wake Second Edition. And it was a lot of questions on how do we promote this one, because there's going to be some touring coming up, and you do want to have the Wake Second Edition on hand, and you do want people to read it because this is a dope series, and you want people to see what's going on with the prequels, how did this whole thing begin, with all these characters and this whole real complex story. So you want to have that, so if people can see it, people can enjoy it, and it's a matter of, okay, do we put it out before the union? And I say yes strongly. Or do you put it out after the union? And again, I can say yes strongly. But I'm like this. Me as an author and me as a reader and me as a fan and me also knowing what's going on right now with the book series being made into a live action, I quickly start to think the first season of this live action is really based off of the Wake, and is now the script is somewhat changed of the pilot that we started working on to okay. Now the script is more of this version of the Wake than the original, but there are elements of the original version of the Wake in the pilot. But the story just it flows so much better. And when I when start to see the critiques and get more words and more people start talking about it, you'll understand why. It's a way different story. And it's better. And it's better than original in a lot of different ways. It's totally different. No, right now just doing the steaks and we're gonna go over to grandma's house in it. Okay. Ask your mom if there's like 4 grilled hot dogs, I'll grill 4 for you. If your mom have any hot dogs, bring out 4 of them. I'll put them on the grill for you. Okay. And Savannah and Shala. One of y'all gonna eat too. All right, watching my middle child just being my middle child. So anyway, people who inspired. So when we talk about the Charm City Strangler, I had to think, what was the inspiration behind it? And like I said, there was a lot of research I did on cults, close to 2 years worth of research I did on cults, books, documentaries, podcasts, and it paid dividends when you read the union. You'll see like, okay, this really paid dividends to how you did this. Similar to how with the legacy, I did a lot of research on serial killers, and it paid dividends to that whole creation of the action figure killer, which I mentioned before. It was somewhat based off of BTK and somewhat based off of the Golden State Strangler or the original Night Stalker, I think it was. And like I took elements like that and built AFK. And then I took some elements of the Bunny Man and I built AFK. Like strongly, AFK was built around the lore of the Bunny Man, which is you could Wikipedia that, you can get some of the story, you can talk to people from Baltimore. Hey Sage, I wouldn't breathe that in. That's gonna not be good for your lungs. So, but there are elements, and I'm proud of how I did that and how I researched that. With the union, I just really doubled down and just went really in, and I didn't hold back. Like any governorship I had with my writing, like with trying to hold back or trying to retell or untell certain stories, I didn't even try to do on this one. Like I just went all the way in and just told a massive mega story, and all the critiques were great. And that's why like I can't wait for this story to come out. This is a masterful told story. Masterfully told story, I should say. It was masterfully told. But that being said, Wayne Williams. So Wayne Williams was once called the Atlanta Monster, and his story is very complicated, to say the least. He was charged with the murder of 2 people, but he was accused of the murder of multiple young boys, and leaving them in rivers. And with Wayne Williams, because everybody suspected it being a white person in Atlanta doing it, and then when the FBI said all the evidence pointed towards this guy, especially when they caught him crossing a bridge in the middle of the night during the last night of a stakeout. I said steakhouse. I'm making steak. It made things kind of weird, because you have a person in a place of a crime and you have certain things that the FBI and the police are saying fit the description, fibers and eyeballing rope and stuff like that, that they didn't have a warrant for to collect for evidence. All that kind of stuff happened. And I met Paul Douglas in Tampa, Florida, a few years ago. He was doing a speaking seminar, and I was on residency at the time for my PhD. And I got a chance to talk to him, and I was the only one in the room that even asked about the question about that, because everybody else was talking about, his book that turned into a show, and the show was a hit at the time, Maya Hunter. And I was just like, dude, I really want to know more about this Wayne Williams case. And he danced around on eggshells while he talked about it, which was weird because everything else he was like very open about. Like he was very open about Ed Kemper, very open about what really happened at hospital, the prison hospital scene, and he really gave real detail of what legit happened versus what didn't happen. And I thought, oh, this is cool. And it was weird how he was able to talk about everything else when he had to talk about the Wayne Williams thing with me. It was like he was stuttering and like really trying to brush it off in a weird way. It made me really dive more into the whole Wayne Williams thing. And you have a lot of different things. You have race playing a component into it, and you have newfound evidence and new use evidence, stuff like that. And then you have funding for the actual capture of this guy and how much it's costing the state / city to do this. So you have all these things going on, and you have a very real life interesting case. Well, I was like, well, we have similar things like that happen in the city. Let's turn this up a notch and let's make this into a Baltimore thing. And instead of the river, let's not play that trope out. We have a real life place here that bodies do happen to go at, which is not too far from here, which is Leakin Park, which I'm not too far from. I live very close by, and there's hundreds of bodies in there. That's not a secret. So it's like, okay, well, let's tell this story in the best way possible in a Baltimore way. But while we do that, let's also talk about some real Baltimore issues like water. So we were able to add that in, and then we're able to send strong messages of, okay, this is how we overcome these tasks. And we don't do it apart, we do it together. So Tiffany had her bank that she started back in the legacy. Well, between the Void and the legacy, there's a bank that started by Tiffany, Hakeem, Jamar, and a few others. And you get to really see now the power of this bank that's Black owned, and these Black community leaders have, and now how they have such strong say so in city politics and everything else, which is what I wanted to do and what I wanted to create. Because now when you get to the finale, you're going to see a lot of areas of strength. And that's the place I wanted to go at with today's Nameless Blog. So I'm going to be teaching a class in April. I'm going to be co-facilitating a class, I should say, in April, where we talk about cinema and the Black family's presentation. We'll talk about Blaxploitation and that whole Blaxploitation movement, and how Hollywood writers write Black people Black people in film versus how Black people write Black people in film, and how white people write white people in film versus Black people write white people in film. And it's a very interesting dynamic when you look at it and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And I'm not going to really give away the beans of what that class is going to be about. But what I will give away, instead of talking about movies, I can talk about series. That was one of my biggest gripes with shows like Walking Dead. Even though I loved the book, I hated the show. And I hated the show because of how they always constantly depicted Black men. And I was like, where did they get this data from where this is us? This is not a representation of who we are as a people. Like, if anything, this is the exact opposite representation of who we are as a people. We're not weak people. We're not passive people. Like, we forgive when we have to, but we're strong people that stand on our own too. And this goes into this conversation I had with my mom, not getting away from the subject, but this conversation I had with my mom because I made a complaint about Martin Luther King's holiday instead of somebody like Nat Turner or somebody like Malcolm X and countless others, right? And it's like, why? Why is it that you could make a Martin Luther King Day, but you don't make a day for, I don't know, Malcolm X? You could talk about Harriet Tubman, who never used a gun. Very positive story, and very, very strong, very strong person. And but you don't talk about your Marcus Garveys of the world. You don't talk about your Nat Turners of the world, which Nat Turner was a person who did stand up against his slave master, and he did have a revolt that lasted for quite a while, until he was getting lynched and they took his body parts home and all that good stuff. And those stories you don't even learn about until you get older. Family member tells you about, you happen to read about it, you go to college and your college professor talks about, but it's like, why? Why don't you want to show us at these positions of strength where we're fighting back? Well, it's part of the game. Same reason why you create these laws, and laws that impact us now have to impact everybody. You have to call it civil rights, but you could have laws created for certain groups of people. And it could be just for those group of people. But when it comes to laws for us, it has to be civil rights. It's the same exact reason. It's the same exact logic. And you see it when it comes to writing. It's like you can't write us too strong. And it's like, why? Why can you make these uber characters that are non-black, but when you have these black characters, like let's say all the black characters in Soprano, you still made them weak looking. Like in Walking Dead, all these black characters, you still made them weak looking. And it's like, why? Why do you do this? Why was Michonne the strong black woman on the show, but you didn't do that with Tyrese? You made Tyrese the quote unquote gentle giant. Same thing with Bob. The and I could get into this all day long, and it's just a matter of why, right? Even a show like Mindhunter, which I really like, I did like the one black police officer that was with Holden, and I forget the other officer's name at this point, but the black officer that was with him in the third season, he was more like, I don't want to say he was clueless, but he wasn't as knowledgeable as Holden and the other guy. I'm just like, dude, where did we get this from? We're talking about, we're coming from a race of people where we wouldn't even have automobiles on the street right now if it wasn't for the black insight from John Washington Carver, George Washington Carver, the same person who did the peanut butter. Everybody knows about that, and the stoplight, but they don't talk about his impact that he had on Henry Ford with developing the schematics for the car to move, the metal for the door and all that. Like nobody talks about that, which is weird. Like my wife and I had this conversation earlier. She didn't even know that. Overcooked steaks. So when I look at that, and I always ask myself, well, why is it written this way? Hey Sage, can you do me a favor? What is it? Can you go ask mommy to hand you Tupperware I just cleaned? I just washed up in what Tupperware. So we have to put the steaks in so we can go over to my mom's house. Tupperware. Just ask my mom for the Tupperware. Ask your mom for the Tupperware. Thanks. What? Just flipping the steaks. We're almost at medium, guys. We're almost at medium. They're looking good too. For these to be my birthday steaks? Oh, yeah, they're looking good. Tupperware and some butter. Tupperware and butter. Yeah, ask your mom for a stick of butter, some Tupperware, and tell her to put a butter knife in the Tupperware for me. So, getting back to what I was saying, it is, and it's sad. It's sad that we have this whole, oh, this is what you guys do though. You guys are the race that Kara. No, we're not. Is the image that you constantly try to portray in media forms that we watch, but that's not, doesn't have to make that true. That's a stereotype, and it's fine because other racial groups get stereotyped as well. Problem is, I'm not a part of other racial groups, so I can't speak on those. Like I recently learned, of these stereotypical things with Italians and stuff like that. I just learned about that, so I might forgive me for my ignorance, but I do have knowledge about my own self and my own people, so I can stand on strength on that, and I'll speak from my place of strength. That's not who we are, and I hate the fact of that presentation, which is why I am glad the way how the series is being developed, the live action version, where we're actually taking time to really depict these characters the very correct way to make sure it comes across on TV the very correct way. I think that's another reason why I didn't appreciate the Cosby Show. I really did appreciate it, and I mentioned it on the last Nameless blog, the impact that it had, because you didn't see black people in stereotypes. You saw black people as black people, and I think we need to see more of that in media today. We have so much representation. We have so many different outlets to show us on. We have your Amazons, your Apple TV Plus, your Netflix, your Hulu's, your Max, your Disney Plus. What's the one that everybody watches? Tubi. Yeah, Tubi. You have all these different places of medium that you could show our representation. We don't have to be the stereotype. Somebody was telling me something about Sexy Red the other day, and I was like, dude, I think she's a great marketer. I was like, I think she's a marketing genius. Like what she did with her first single, I was like, say what you want about her rap skills, and I'm not going to get into that. But as far as marketing, this is second to none. Like, oh my god, this is like 50 Cent level mastery of marketing. Like 50 Cent was this nobody who turned around, did How to Rob, and had everybody talking about him as an artist to the point that they were doing diss tracks on him and saying his name. It's great marketing because years later, when he gets his deal with Aftermath and Shady, it's like he's a household name. And he was a household name before he even got the deal because everybody was talking about him because of How to Rob. So when I look at that, I go, dude, genius marketing. Thank you.
Mommy, that you can't put hot food in a plastic bowl.
Mommy's right. Mommy's absolutely right. Here for a second. Butter in the steaks. That was a cool shot. So, cool thing is, these steaks are almost done. I do love doing this because this thing follows me. Like, this is cool. Nice. Yeah. So, just wanted to talk about that again. Talk about what we're doing. There is another class I'll be doing in March, April as well. It's about effective communication, perceptions versus presentation. I think, I think it's perceptual expectations versus presentation. One other, but I'm doing those two classes, and they're free classes actually, so you could definitely sign up for them. They're on msbcministries.org. It should be out soon about the two classes I'll be doing, and definitely feel free to check it out. I try to make my classes fun, entertaining, but the one about the cinema I am looking forward to. And of course, I'm going to get into now my top 10 and most influential Black women. So this is my top 10 of the month. I was going to do a whole lyric breakdown. I don't have Lamont on today, just because I wanted to do this one and get out the way. So I will go back to lyrics next week, and we're also going to celebrate Lamont's birthday. And I'm also going to be in Bowie on Saturday, March the 2nd. So happy birthday in advance to Lamont. And I'm going to be in Bowie next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, I should say, with copies of The Void, copies of The Legacy. I will not have copies of the original Union on the original Wake on hand. Of course, the Union won't be out until May. And I can't guarantee you a day or a time when I'm going to have the Wake out, the Wake Rebirth out. It will be out soon. I can't guarantee you when. It could be on April 1st. It could be the same day as the Union, for all we know. It all depends on how everything goes in the next few weeks between myself, Full Print Publishing, and this whole how this rollout is going to happen, because we're still trying to figure this out, and we're still in the process of production for the Tiffany Gibbon Saga live action series called Tiffany Saga, or it could be called 1234. We're still not sure. Just because we're in the early stage. There's a lot that Devin Walker, our producer, has on his plate. So we're working everything out. That being said, let's get to our top 10 most influential. Coming in at number 1 for me is Mahalia Jackson. Just because when I found out about her, well, I'll say coming in number 10. Number 10, Mahalia Jackson. I always felt like who she was, what she represented, her singing, and her life was just impactful. Number 9 would definitely be Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was probably the Black mother of social work. And I don't think she receives all the credentials and all the flowers she rightfully deserved. But between what she's done with newspapers, bringing attention to the masses as far as lynching and slavery, Ida B. Wells is to definitely be on everybody's top 10. Because of time, I'm going to just jump straight to this one. Because of time, I'm jump straight to the. Her name is Frances Welton. I was going to rank her higher, but mine took doing this off the top of my head, and I'm in front of the room. So bear with me. I think I'm at number 7. But Frances Welton, if you ever read the ISIS papers or listened to her speak, she's been on tons of documentaries. She's spoken several times. A lot of times she's done a lot of public speaking, and she's so knowledgeable, and she plays the game that they play. She doesn't change the rules. She adjusts the rules and goes by the logic and the rules that are created by the masses. And that's the easy way to love her, is because of how she plays the game. So when you look at like 40 in Theory, well, she brings in, okay, you want to talk about this whole mom daddy practices and that's what she did. She really played the game with them on this is your words. This is what you base American psychology off of. Okay, this is what this is now. Want to erase it? And it's like you can't deny it because everything's proven by your words. Only thing I'm doing is I'm taking this and I'm applying it to your words. You can't argue it. So Francis Walton is number 7, I think. Number 7, number 6. I'm gonna say number 7 for right now. Number I had a list written down. I'm on a grill, so bear with me. I'm trying to go out my list off the top of my head. Of course, Marion McLeod Bethune. I had her on the list, so let's put her at number 6. Number 5. I'm trying to remember everybody off my list off the top of my head. There's a lot of people on that list. Number 5, believe it or not, is Hughes. So Kathy Hughes is the founder and owner of Radio One, one of the largest entities of radio and television. Like stations like Hot 97, 92Q, etc., etc. They all started because of Kathy Hughes. So putting her on this list is a major thing. Actually, believe it or not, this people who inspired. There's a character that reoccurs in all of my books, and that's Miss Claire. Miss Claire, believe it or not, was based off of Kathy Hughes. That's how impactful Kathy Hughes was to me, was the creation of Miss Claire, who was in every one of my books. And Miss Claire is probably one of the strongest characters, which is funnily said because she's not a main character in any of the books. None of the books, she's a main character. She's a background character. She's a character that may have a couple lines, but she's a very consistent character, and you can't deny her strength. And it's placed to the strength of Kathy Hughes in real life. Kathy Hughes, 5. Number 4 would be Harriet Tubman. I could rank her higher. I probably should. But for all intents and purposes for this casting, because I'm doing it off my head, top of my head, I have her at number 4. She was very influential in freeing a lot of black slaves, getting them into freedom. Number 3, Madam C.J. Walker. How could she not be? This black woman was a millionaire in a time where we are coming out of slavery, and she made herself with her hair care products that are still in business to this day into a mainstay and a major stay. So Madam C.J. Walker is number 3. Number 2, where I would love to put somebody like Oprah Winfrey there, I'm not. And I'll tell you why in a second. It's just because as much as Oprah's done what she's done a lot, I feel like this one person, Nina Simone. So the song that she did about Mississippi with the hanging, bringing attention to lynchings and what happened with Emmett Till, which Emmett Till's mother is also top, should be number one. I'm going to actually put my own mother there, but I have to tie them. Let's just go ahead and we're going to put some people at number two. We're going to make number two the biggest number of all time, right? It's going to be major. So dump it for number two. And so you got Oprah Winfrey, of course, because her what she did with daytime television and how she made herself good in there with her network and everything she did was amazing. Nina Simone with how she used voice with music to encourage so many people was amazing. You had, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on this lady's name. I'm so sorry. But there's another lady. Um, she's been an author for over 50 plus years. She made herself an best-selling author just by writing books and adult fantasy novels. And she would just sell them at hair salons. And she wrote over 100 books, and she wound up becoming a major name on her own back. Her name. I learned about her on this podcast called This Is Love, and my real good friend Alyssa Rose and we actually kind of both brought her up in a conversation a few months ago, not realizing that we both talked about the same person, which is hilarious. And there's a few other people I can tie it to. Of course, Rosa Parks, and there's a few others. Chicago and New York, she was the first Black woman in politics. Blanking on her name, but she played a very instrumental role for so many years. And of course, number one is my mom. And my mom, for the reason of, so a lot of people have realized this. I have a country accent. I'm from West Baltimore. I have a country accent. The reason why is because I lived here in South Carolina growing up. My mom had cancer, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My dad was a steel worker, and because the hours at that time was weird, so you can't be home with my sister and I, and my sister was a baby, and you can't do that and work. And my mom worked because she was dying with cancer, and we stayed with my grandma down in South Carolina, and that's where I get my Gullah Geechee roots from and everything. And that being said, my mom fought hard for not just to live when the doctors gave her 2 weeks to live with cancer. And this is with 80s medication we're talking. 80s medication with a Black woman, I should also add in. She also had to fight against the school board who didn't, because she was a school teacher and they didn't want to pay her. She had to fight against that. They didn't want to give her sick time. They didn't want her insurance to pay for any of her medical treatment, any of that. So my mom had to fight against that. My mom had to fight every day, and it didn't make it any better that she's healing. Her knucklehead son is running the streets. So my mom is definitely number one on my list for a variety of reasons, but I'll just share that publicly with you all. And that's my top 10. That being said, be on the lookout. The Wake Rebirth will be out soon. Not sure when, but it will be out soon. I can't give guarantee yet. I want to say I want to have it out by April, and then we'll just go ahead and move forward. The next few books, and I really want to say that I can't guarantee. I'm not going to guarantee yet. I could just put it out and just let you guys out. I didn't want to do it that way, but I could. I have a certain, like, Bold Print has a certain formula, which is shooting a trailer, promoting a trailer like hell, on all forms of social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and podcasts, radio, some TV spots, and it's worked well. Well with The Void, worked well with with the legacy. This whole formula that we're about to do with the union is going to be mind blowing. I really can't wait for that. And I kind of want to keep up this formula with the wake. At the same time, I want people to have this copy of the wake. I'm very proud of the copy of the wake, the version of the wake. I can't wait for you guys to get it. And again, the rights on the 29th of this month revert completely back to me. And then full print is signed to receive it. The book is already done. So it's just the whole rollout process of the way it comes out, basically. So that's where we're at. We still have the Tiffany saga being shot and filmed. We're in the early stages of that. You'll see a lot of blends. You're going to see some blends between the original version of the way and this new edition. And it's done like that on purpose, in a weird way, because I started to notice while we were working together to develop different ways the rights went back to me. So I was like, oh, sure. Let's go ahead and we could fix the wake in these areas that need to be fixing, and we could really make this a better story. And that's exactly what it is. When you see the live action, you'll be proud of that, and when you read this product, Karen is away from the original. The original was an 8.5 star, 8 stars, an 8.5 star, 8.5 stars out of 10, which is good. It's not bad. But 8.5 is by far not bad. So I think I'm gonna leave it right there. Dr. Kyle Berkeley, me, more all forms of social media at Berkeley for Us, except for Facebook. You find me on there, Dr. Kyle Berkeley. And until next time, peace.